Hello, welcome to the table. My name's Jonathan Hicks.
I'm Steve Rain.
And I'm Mark Windle.
And today we're looking at the Spiel des Jahres nominees, which were announced a couple of weeks back. And do you know when the actual winner is announced? It's beginning of July?
It's mid-July, I think.
Mid-July, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna give you a brief rundown of the 3 games that have been nominated, let you know what we think of them, and then we're going to try and predict, although we're never very good at this, which one we think is going to win this year.
Something like that.
Mark, do you want to kick us off?
My one I'm going to cover is Azul, which has an incredible theme about the King of Portugal going to the King of Spain's bathroom, as you do, seeing his tiles go, there's some good tiles. And then he goes home and wants people to make him a better bathroom tile arrangement. Yeah, it's a bit irrelevant. Azul is a fantastic game of... There are various areas on the table. You get a little round disc, it's irrelevant, of which random set of 4 tiles is put on each. And then you, on your go, you either can take tiles from one of those, and you take all of the same type, or you can take from the middle if there is some, but if you're the first person you get a negative point. And you are filling out a grid on your board which has a random, well, it's not really a randomised pattern, but you can't have the same one on the same row.
A bit like Sudoku.
Yeah, essentially.
So each row has to have a different colour, doesn't it? And each column has to have a different colour.
But also, to fill out these rows, you need, on the top row, you need 1. On the second one, you need 2, 3, 4 and 5. So as you're grabbing tiles, you might go like, I've got 2 of the yellow ones. Do I put them straight into the second row? Because I can fill that straight away. Or do I put 2 on the bottom row? Because I want to start getting towards that. Because you get points having particular arrangements. Generally, them always being related them to being together, though, is how you score. And then in the end, you get bonus points towards. But, so there is this play of, do I want to take these now? A, because somebody might take them, but B, I could be done in. So I've got 2 on the 5 row, 2 on the 4 row, and maybe 1 on the 3 row. I've got the 1 on the 2 row, and then suddenly there's 3 of these. I'm going to have to take, if I take the 3 in any of those rows, I'm going to be left with 1 spare, and that counts as a negative point. And as you get more of these each time, you can get quite a lot of negative points in the round. So there is a lot of interaction in seeing work out A, what the people want to do, and B, how can you not be done in?
Yeah, because if you're taking them out in the middle, you have to take all the ones of whichever colour you choose to take. And to start with, as people take little bits and they start to put them in the middle, there might be a couple of reds and 3 blues or something, but then suddenly you turn around and say, oh my goodness, there's 7 blacks there. Oh, if I get stuck with that, I'm going to get tons of negative points. I must admit, I wasn't overly enthused with this the first time I played it. It's a fairly abstract game. It does look gorgeous, I have to say. But the more I've played it, the more I've enjoyed it. As Mark says, you do need to think quite a lot about, if she takes this and he takes that, what should I take in order to make sure when it comes back round I don't get done in? There's a lot of that going on, which is nice.
We've had tournaments at the cafe each month this year, and the Azul tournament, which is by far the newest game in the selection of games we have, had the most people. It's like people love it. It's so simple to play. On your turn, you take all of 1 colour tile from one place, that's it. And how you go about doing that, just so many options, so many... which one's more likely to get back to me? What's he collecting? Will I be able to sneak this away?
One of the things that's nice is that obviously you're scoring points, and at the end the most points wins. But particularly with people who are coming to it the first time, you can see no one's really that bothered about the points. There's this whole, can I fill my grid up? And that's what they're really focused on. And at the end it's like, oh, I've made this nice pretty pattern on my board. So I never tend to do very well in this game, but you still get a sense of satisfaction from completing the patterns, which is nice.
That's great. It was one that, like, we got it at Essen. I just thought, oh yeah, I've seen this. It'll be a nice cafe game. And then the next day was the #1 hotlit game at Essen. And really, it hadn't actually, popularity-wise, hasn't really dipped since then. It's been popular. No. It sells out immediately as soon as you get it in, anyway.
Yeah. All right, the next game we're looking at is The Mind, which is a very controversial game where you have a deck of cards numbered from 1 to 100.
Game.
And yes, on level 1, you deal everyone 1 card. It's cooperative. And you look at your card secretly, and it's going to be one of the numbers from 1 to 100. So maybe I've got the 13. And one at a time, you have to play cards into the middle, but there's no turn order. So if you think it's your turn to play a card, you just play a card. And they have to be played in order from lowest to highest. But there is no communication allowed whatsoever. So you sort of sit there with your 1 card and thinking, 13's quite low. I should probably play that. Oh, but what if someone's got something a bit lower than the 13? So you kind of wait for a little bit, and you're kind of trying to time that whole, do I play it? I'm going to play it. Now, if you play a card, like if someone jumps in with a 46 or something and it's higher than one you've already got, then you just shout stop. You discard all the cards that were lower than the card that was played wrongly, and you lose a life. And if you lose all your lives, you're out of the game. So you're cooperatively trying to win in this sense. If you manage to succeed and play them in the right order, then you put all the cards back in the deck, you reshuffle, and you deal everyone 2 cards for level 2. And so it's now a bit more difficult because you've got 2 cards you've got to try and play in the right order. Now, you explain it to people, and people are like, is that it? Surely there's got to be some extra kind of mechanism that's going to make it interesting and add some strategy. But there really isn't. It feels like there's nothing to do. You're just kind of sitting there hoping you're going to play at the right time. But as you play the game more and more, you find you start to understand how long people tend to wait, and you kind of synchronize your thoughts.
Yeah. It's weird.
Hands on the table.
Yeah, that's right. In the rules, it tells you before you start playing, everyone should put their hand face down on the table in order to synchronize their thoughts, psychic style.
But it works. You do.
Yeah.
And it isn't. The criticism is it isn't really a game as such. It's more of an activity. But I really like it. Kind of playing with that group where one person's by far playing far too quickly and you die, and then you try it again, and then all of a sudden they kind of slow down and you speed up until the point where you're kind of at like an equilibrium.
That's right.
And again, no communication. It's very tense, and you're sat there with an 80, and he's sat there with an 82, and he's sat there with a 78, and you're waiting. You're like, I've got 80. I can't have the lowest card here. But you can't say anything. Yeah. And they're all waiting as well because they've got similar cards to you. And trying to be the first person to... Well, 78's pretty low in this context given how long we've been waiting.
It can be really hard when the numbers are close together. And particularly after you've got those big gaps. It's fine if you've sort of got a 10 and 20 and 30. But when you've got like 5 and 7 and then 80, as you say, it's like... what do you do in that time?
So I would... If it doesn't look like something you would want to play, I would recommend playing it once. Just get it's an experience. You might think, yeah, fine, whatever. I might be able to see why people like it or not. It wasn't for me. Or you might be like me and actually really quite like this game. It's weird, but I'd want to play with different groups every time I play. Because that kind of that balancing of the group dynamic is what makes this game for me.
Well, it's kind of, as you always like with Hanabi, it's learning the group, but in a much compressed sort of way. But you're right, it's the way it's almost is about as much about learning other people as the game itself. It's slowly getting awareness of their time, and they get awareness of your time, and you all kind of work it out together. That's the game. It is more of an experience than a game almost, because it's about a social coming together.
Yes.
But there seems to be one of these games every year nominated for the World Concept was one, which is more of an experience. It had scoring, but you didn't really need to score it. The game was a bit of a weird one as well, and no communication, that sort of thing. It feels a bit like the game for me, but with even less game to it. You can win, but it's like, it's more the experience, what you get out of it. It's more the experience of the game itself.
It's very unusual, and I highly recommend, as Steve says, you try it once if you've not tried it yet.
So the third game is the one we played at the Expo. It is Luxor, and Luxor is you're going around a labyrinth. Effectively, you start with 3 explorers. You can pick up more throughout the game. You kind of need more just to give yourself more options later on. But you're moving these explorers around in this labyrinth, getting all the way around to get to the Pharaoh's tomb in the middle. And once 2 people get to there, the game ends. But what you're doing along the way is you're picking up treasure, and like you're getting victory points for the stuff you pick up, and set collection as well. So you don't just want to pick up all the same type. You want to pick up different types. And the way you do it, the better the pieces of treasure, the more explorers you need to get to that spot to pick it up. And you've got a hand of cards, and you've got 5 cards in your hand, but the cards are numbered 1 through 5 initially. You can pick up some powerful cards later. But the way it works is that you can only play the cards on the end. So you've got 5 cards. I might have 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. And I can only play the 1 or the 5. And if I play the 1, I pick one of my explorers, move them 1 space, discard it, pick another card up and put it in the middle, which means that the card that was next to 1 is now my only other choice. If I'm wanting to play this 4 that's behind this 5, I can't do it unless I play the 5 first.
Yeah.
And you're trying to, get your explorers around, picking up treasure on the way, doing it there. And you've got a mixture of things to do. You can try and pick up more powerful cards. You can race ahead so that you're picking up the treasures further in the maze by yourself, where everyone else is behind you fighting for stuff. You can try and move your explorers in blocks so you get all the big treasures, but it takes you a bit longer to pick them up. It's just very nicely balanced, and for what is a light family game, the art's nice, the theme's nice. It gives people who are gamers choice. And some games nominated for this category don't always do that.
Yeah, it straddles that gap between gamers and family really well, I think. I struggle so much with the hand mechanic. Because like, you've got to hand a card. Oh, I've got a 4. I want to play them 4 because I want to move 4 spaces. Oh, I can't play this one. Oh, but that's no good, and that's no good. What do I do? And yeah, it really does give you a lot to think about.
Yeah, forward planning, but not too much forward planning. Kind of like I can play the 1, then the 5, and then the 2 will be at the end, so I can play the 2 unless he takes that before me. So you can kind of plan as far as you dare ahead, and it gives people like some strategy in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's like picking up the bonus action, the bonus cards that you get, and then you get recycled back into it. They add just that little bit of extra complexity at the top that obviously the other 2 games probably don't have. And also, I guess there's more of a variation on scoring, essentially, because you're trying to not necessarily exactly compete with other players. Well, the mind doesn't necessarily, there is no real scoring in, well, there is, but as all, you can't really get different paths. Well, this at least has some variation of paths to victory.
Yeah, it probably does have more scope for doing different things in the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah,
those are the 3 options, the 3 nominees for the Spiel des Jahres. Which of those would be your favourite, first of all?
It's not hard for me. It's Azul. It's a game I would play more often than the other 2 by a long way. Although I really enjoy the Mind, and Luxor was fine as well. I'd happily play it, but Azul for me.
Yeah, definitely Azul. It's the only one of the 3 I would consider buying to play with other people. Mind is a really nice experience. That I'll happily play again, but it's an experience that I would play sparingly. I'd maybe play it 2-something times a year. It's one of those things, and occasionally you bring it out. Luxor just didn't catch me enough when I played it. I think I gave it a review. It was fine, and certainly the Famwick Gate, it's really well aimed, but it wasn't for me. Well, I think the other 2 don't affect the fact that I'm more of a gamer possibly than who it's aimed at. I think it's all doesn't matter, certainly because it's you're more aware of what other people are doing, and the Mind's an experience, so it's sort of not really relevant. There is no upper or low limit on that game.
Yeah, I think the Mind's a good nomination. My issue would be the replayability. I just can't see myself playing it, in a year's time. It's one of those. It's going to be a lot of fun to play at the moment. But something like Azul, I think, will just last much longer.
We essentially are nearly playing a year's time, because we've got it at Essen, which is October. We're now in June, heading towards July, and it's still.
What's your favourite?
Definitely Azul. It has that kind of classic status to it already. I think I've just seen it played so many times in so many different places. My uncle and his family got the game without me even really mentioning it, and they brought it to a holiday we went on, and we were playing that together. So it just seems to be spreading. I think it's definitely the best of the 3 games, and the one I'd prefer to play. So which one do we think is actually going to win? Although we've all said we prefer Azul.
Yeah, still the same.
I think Luxor's going to win.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'll be with Mark on this. I think Azul is head and shoulders above the other 2.
So I predict it every year, and the more I try and predict it, I'm like, my favourite game never wins.
That's true.
So apart from last year, actually, Exit won the Spiel, but generally look at last year, like in terms of the strategy and the depth, and then King Domino won, and it's just quite simple. Yeah. And I think in terms of what you've got to do on your turn, I think Luxor's going to appeal to the family. Not necessarily, it's not a kids' game, but to the family. I think Luxor's probably a better family.
I mean, based on that though, the game won. So why the Mind can't? They didn't win. Oh, we could, didn't they? But
yeah, I think Luxor feels more complicated than Azul, though. I can see what you mean playing it straightforward, but Azul is so simple.
I think the thing. Oh, okay, well, it's fine.
It's stinky, but it's simple.
Outvoted here, so we'll see.
I am never right though, so I'll be amazed.
I feel more confident in the fact that I've gone for something different to Jonathan.
Yeah. So do let us know in the comments below which one you think is going to win and which one is your favourite. Particularly if you don't think it's Azul. It'd be interesting to see what the people think. Alright, thanks very much for watching. My name's Jonathan.
I'm Steve Rain.
And I'm Owen.
See you next time. Bye.